Narcissists and self-centered individuals represent a particularly toxic type of person to avoid, especially in old age. These are the people who demand attention, admiration, and care, but rarely offer anything in return. Their world revolves around themselves, and they believe that their needs, desires, and emotions are paramount. If you allow such people into your life, you risk becoming a source of support for them without ever receiving the same consideration. In many ways, a narcissist sees relationships as transactional. They are interested in what they can get from you rather than what they can give. They may appear charming at first, showing you affection and care, but over time their true nature will surface. They will make everything about them, their problems, their triumphs, their desires, and their whims. Your concerns will be brushed aside as insignificant in comparison, and your needs will remain unmet. The imbalance is striking. They want you to be there for them, but they cannot be bothered to show up for you when you need them. In old age, it becomes even more important to have people around you who genuinely care about your well-being and are willing to offer the same kind of support you give them. Narcissists will likely drain you emotionally because they have an insatiable hunger for attention. Their need for admiration and validation will overshadow your needs. They might manipulate or guilt-trip you into doing things for them, only to leave you feeling used or unappreciated. The more you try to please them, the more they demand. In turn, they erode your sense of self-worth and leave you feeling as though you are always giving without receiving anything in return. What's more, narcissists thrive on control and power in relationships. They may try to manipulate your decisions, influence your actions, and create situations where they are the center of attention. They often refuse to acknowledge the boundaries of others, seeing them only as obstacles to be bypassed in their pursuit of self-gratification. In old age, when we are more vulnerable and less capable of defending our emotional boundaries, these individuals can be especially harmful. Their behavior can leave you feeling emotionally drained, insecure, and isolated. Recognizing narcissistic traits early can save you from unnecessary emotional turmoil. Narcissists often exhibit traits such as a lack of empathy, a constant need for admiration, and an inability to take responsibility for their mistakes. If you notice these behaviors in someone, especially in a close relationship, it may be time to reevaluate the connection. In the later stages of life, there's little time to waste on relationships that drain you. Avoiding narcissists and self-centered individuals is essential for maintaining peace, emotional health, and meaningful connections. Choose people who will offer mutual respect, support, and empathy, not those who see you as a means to feed their own ego. One of the most insidious forms of toxicity, particularly in older age, comes from those who attempt to control or dominate your life. These individuals often come disguised as well-meaning relatives, friends, or even caregivers. They position themselves as the experts, the ones who know what's best for you, and often dismiss your own desires or autonomy. But here's the thing, the more they impose their will on you, the more they strip away your ability to live your life as you see fit. These controllers aren't just trying to make a decision here or there, they aim to shape every aspect of your existence. They decide where you go, what you do, whom you spend time with, and even what you eat or wear. This may come across as helpful at first, but when it becomes persistent and relentless, it's nothing more than an attempt to undermine your independence. Their insistence on helping may even wear the guise of concern for your safety or well-being. But the truth is, they see your autonomy as something to be diminished in favor of their own sense of control. Over time, this can lead to a sense of suffocation and even resentment. Such people fail to understand that old age isn't just about physical needs. It's about maintaining the dignity and agency you've spent a lifetime building. The freedom to make decisions, the freedom to choose your path are crucial components of a fulfilling life. When someone insists on taking these freedoms from you, They are not just controlling your actions, they are slowly eroding your sense of self. This kind of behavior often leaves you feeling helpless, frustrated, and even isolated, particularly if you are too polite or too kind to push back. The danger here is that this behavior can be hard to recognize at first. It often begins with small actions. A suggestion here, a recommendation there. But over time, these well-meaning interventions can become demands and eventually a complete takeover. And because it's often wrapped in concern or affection, it becomes difficult to challenge without feeling guilty or ungrateful. But make no mistake, this isn't about love or care. It's about control. Older adults must be vigilant in recognizing the signs of overbearing personalities. It is essential to assert your independence and your right to make your own decisions. You have the experience, the wisdom, and the right to choose how you live your life, no matter what anyone else thinks. In relationships, it's important to establish boundaries and stick to them. Don't be afraid to say no when someone crosses a line or tries to manipulate your choices. Important to reclaim your space and make sure your decisions are respected. Remember, the quality of your remaining years depends significantly on the freedom you maintain. Control, autonomy are not just abstract concepts. They are fundamental to your emotional well-being. Allowing someone to overstep boundaries and dictate your life can lead to emotional resentment and a loss of personal identity. Take ownership of your choices, your life, and your future. If someone's behavior is taking that away, it's time to set firm boundaries. Remove them from your circle and protect your autonomy. The more you allow others to take charge, the less control you will have over your own happiness. In the context of growing older, there is perhaps no greater threat to your well-being than the presence of liars and betrayers in your life. These are individuals who manipulate, deceive, and exploit trust for their own gain. In many ways, they are the most dangerous type of toxic person because their actions cut deeper than words or overt behavior. Their deceit poisons relationships, shatters the sense of security that should accompany age, and leaves you vulnerable when you need honesty and support the most. At any stage in life, deception undermines the fabric of trust, but in old age, this becomes even more significant. As you age, your social circle may naturally shrink, and the need for genuine, trustworthy people becomes even more critical. It's during these years that you need to rely on others, whether for emotional support, practical assistance, or companionship. The emotional safety net that relationships provide is essential. When that trust is violated by someone you've opened up to, the damage is profound. Liars are often incredibly skilled at convincing you of their honesty. They weave elaborate stories, manipulate situations, and create false narratives that make you question your reality. At first, their lies might seem small, insignificant, misunderstandings, harmless exaggerations. But over time, these falsehoods compound, and you begin to realize that the truth no longer holds weight in the presence of such individuals. Their dishonesty creates a distorted version of reality, one where you can no longer depend on the truth. And this creates a deep sense of confusion and instability in your life. What makes liars so dangerous is their ability to hide their true intentions. They often prey on your vulnerabilities, exploiting your trust for personal gain. Whether it's financial, emotional, or psychological manipulation, their end goal is to serve their own interests at your expense. They will offer you promises they have no intention of keeping, manipulate situations to their advantage, and use your own goodwill as a tool to continue their deception. As you grow older, you become less able to recover from these betrayals, which can leave lasting scars on your emotional well-being. Betrayal, on the other hand, is the ultimate form of betrayal of trust. These are the people who, after gaining your trust and affection, turn their backs on you when you least expect it. Whether it's a broken promise, a lie told for their benefit, or a personal betrayal that shakes the foundations of your relationship. These people are often the most painful to deal with. Betrayers don't just lie, they actively go against your interests, undermining your sense of safety and security. It might come in the form of a family member who betrays you for inheritance, or a friend who uses your vulnerabilities against you. Their actions leave you questioning who you can truly rely on. As you approach the later stages of life, you must be discerning about who you allow to remain in your circle. Trust becomes the most valuable commodity, and to let a liar or betrayer into your life is to invite a corrosive influence. Their presence erodes your peace of mind, undermines your ability to trust others, and robs you of the emotional stability that old age should afford. The longer you tolerate such people, the more damage they will do, not just to you, but to the relationships and systems that support you. In conclusion, liars and betrayers are not just toxic. They are destructive forces that destabilize your emotional world. In old age, you must recognize these people for what they are and remove them from your life. It's not just about protecting your time and energy. It's about safeguarding your dignity, your peace of mind, and your ability to trust the people around you. If you want to live your later years in peace, you must guard your circle and refuse to allow anyone who undermines your trust to remain in it. As we age, our ability to tolerate toxic people diminishes. Not because we become weaker, but because we become wiser. Life has already presented its fair share of challenges, and by the time we reach old age, we have neither the patience nor the energy to waste on unnecessary negativity. The people we allow into our lives matter more than ever, and the consequences of their influence become far greater. When we are younger, we may tolerate toxic relationships because we believe we have time to fix them, or because we feel obligated to endure them out of duty, guilt, or misplaced loyalty. But as the years pass, it becomes increasingly clear that certain individuals are more of a burden than a benefit. Toxic people drain not only your energy but also your emotional well-being. They bring stress, resentment, and unnecessary conflict into your life, and as you grow older, your capacity to recover from these emotional drains lessens. Stress, which may have been manageable in youth, takes a far greater toll on an aging mind and body. The emotional exhaustion caused by toxic relationships can manifest physically, raising blood pressure, weakening the immune system, and contributing to a decline in overall health. When you are younger, you can bounce back from stress with relative ease, but as you age, the ability to withstand and recover from negativity is not as strong, making it even more important to guard your mental and emotional space. Another factor to consider is that in old age, time becomes a finite and precious resource. There is no longer the illusion of endless years ahead, and this realization makes it all the more essential to be selective about where we invest our attention. Spending time with toxic people is not just emotionally draining, it is a tragic misuse of the limited moments we have left. Every interaction is either adding to the richness of life or taking away from it. If someone consistently brings negativity, manipulation, or unnecessary conflict into your life, their presence is not just an inconvenience, it is a theft of time, energy, and peace. Toxic people can also have a greater impact in old age because our social circles naturally shrink. Retirement, the loss of loved ones, and changing life circumstances mean that our support networks are not as vast as they once were. This makes it even more crucial to ensure that the people who remain in our lives are positive, supportive, and trustworthy. If we are not careful, the wrong people can take up space that should be reserved for those who truly care about our well-being. Manipulative individuals often take advantage of the elderly, knowing that they may be more isolated or in need of companionship. This is why discernment becomes a vital skill in later years. we must be able to recognize who genuinely adds value to our lives and who merely takes from it. Protecting ourselves from toxic individuals is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of self-respect. We owe it to ourselves to create an environment where we can age with dignity, peace, and a sense of fulfillment. There are people in this world who take far more than they give. They pull you into their problems, demand your time, and leave you feeling drained. These individuals, emotional vampires, are particularly dangerous in old age because by that point, your emotional and physical resources are not what they once were. The older you get, the more you need to protect your energy, and that means keeping these people at a distance. Emotional vampires are not always obvious. They don't walk into your life announcing their intentions. Instead, they disguise themselves as friends, family, or even well-meaning acquaintances. They show up when they need something, but rarely, if ever, when you do. They pour their problems onto you, expecting you to listen, sympathize, and offer advice, but they do nothing to change their situation. And here's the real issue. They don't actually want solutions. They just want someone to absorb their negativity. And if you let them, that person will be you. You must ask yourself, what does it cost you to maintain these relationships? Every conversation with an emotional vampire leaves you exhausted. Every interaction drains a little more of your patience, your optimism, your enthusiasm for life. And what do you get in return? More complaints, more problems, more reasons to feel like the world is a dark, hopeless place. This is not a fair exchange, and it's certainly not one you should be making in your later years. Some of these individuals will guilt you into staying connected. They will say things like, "You're the only one who understands me," or "I don't know what I do without you." But let's be clear, this is manipulation. A real friendship, a healthy relationship is built on mutual care and support. It does not depend on one person constantly giving while the other takes. You have to recognize that your well-being matters just as much as anyone else's. In old age, every moment becomes more valuable. You no longer have the luxury of spending years entangled in other people's dysfunction. The time you have should be spent on things that bring you fulfillment. Whether that's learning something new, pursuing hobbies, or deepening relationships with people who genuinely enrich your life. If someone consistently leaves you feeling drained, anxious, or burdened, you need to ask yourself whether their presence is worth the cost. This is not about cruelty or selfishness. It is about self-preservation. There is no rule that says you must be a dumping ground for other people's misery. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to protect your peace. The world is full of people who are kind, uplifting, and emotionally stable. Those are the people you should surround yourself with. If you do not set boundaries, emotional vampires will take everything you have. And in old age, when energy and time are at a premium, that is a price far too high to pay. Chronic complainers are individuals who perpetually find themselves in a state of dissatisfaction. They see life not as a series of challenges to be overcome, but as an unyielding source of frustration. Every circumstance is an opportunity for them to lament, and no matter how much they have, it never feels like enough. This mentality is deeply ingrained and becomes a part of their identity. They are defined by their complaints. And the longer they continue this cycle, the more difficult it becomes to break free. It's a toxic loop, one that festers in the mind and can, over time, infect the people around them. The problem with chronic complainers is not just the negativity they bring into any situation, it's the mindset they propagate. These people are often consumed by the idea that the world is somehow out to get them. They believe that external forces are to blame for their misfortunes, which leaves them feeling powerless. And because they see themselves as victims, They often refuse to take responsibility for their own lives. It's as if their personal agency has been stripped away and their circumstances are entirely the fault of others. They fail to see that they have the power to make choices, to change their perspectives, and to confront their challenges head on. This victim mentality is particularly insidious because it's a coping mechanism, one that provides temporary relief from the harshness of life. By labeling themselves as victims, they can absolve themselves of responsibility for their situation. The world becomes a place of constant injustice, and every setback becomes a confirmation of their belief that life is unfair. However, this outlook does more harm than good. It creates a barrier to personal growth, since they are trapped in a mindset where their suffering is never their own doing. This belief robs them of the ability to take action and solve their problems. Furthermore, the chronic complainer's behavior tends to rub off on others. When you spend time with someone who is constantly negative, their perspective begins to seep into your own worldview. It becomes harder to maintain a positive outlook when you're surrounded by someone who only sees the worst in every situation. This can be particularly detrimental as we age. In old age, we need people who encourage us to move forward, to find meaning in life, and to embrace the joys that are still available to us. A chronic complainer, however, drags you into their cycle of despair. You end up spending more energy on their grievances than your own growth. The key to dealing with chronic complainers is not to indulge their negativity, but to help them confront it if possible. Encourage them to take responsibility for their own emotions and actions. You don't need to abandon them, but you do need to set boundaries, protecting your own mental space from their constant barrage of complaints. The best way to do this is to stop engaging with their victimhood. Help them see that their life can improve, but only if they choose to change their mindset. You can't force someone to do this, but you can make it clear that your time is valuable and you will not sacrifice your own well-being by aligning yourself with perpetual negativity. Ultimately, it's important to understand that chronic complainers aren't necessarily bad people. They're often people who are simply lost, struggling to navigate a world that feels unkind. But in the process of protecting your own mental health, you have to make tough decisions. Surrounding yourself with individuals who foster a healthy, proactive mindset is essential for maintaining peace, especially in old age. Toxicity takes many forms, and the chronic complainer is one of the most draining types, especially as time wears on.